Well, hello there again. Yes, today I thought we'd have a look at some very old and maybe you could say outdated form of hi-fi. Now, in this case I'm not talking about this old Revox reel-to-reel tape recorder, I'm talking about something even older. This unit, by the way, is 50 years old, and I have something that is almost double as old. This suitcase. Now, what's so special about a boring old black suitcase? Well, from the design, you can probably almost tell it's not really a suitcase. But let's just open it up and find out. And now you can probably almost tell this is definitely not just a suitcase, it's a gramophone. This is an Electrola Grammophone. It's made somewhere in the 1920s. And yeah, as you can tell, here's a logo. It's a bit washed out, but yeah, you should still be able to identify what it is. And yeah. There's a stamp here, but I'm not too sure if that is actually the place that made or sold it. Or if it's just somebody owned this device back then, and that is what he put on it. Could be or could not be. But yeah, as you can tell, the device is in fairly good condition for its age. I mean, this thing is almost 100 years old. And yeah, it's a form of hi-fi that isn't used anymore. Why? Well, it's kind of out of date. I mean, sure, you just have up here your storage for about 5 records. Yeah, I mean, it looks like just a normal vinyl record, but it's a lot harder, it's not as flexible. Place that on there, and there we go. Now if we have a closer look at the record itself, you can see that the grooves are in fact a lot bigger than, let's say, a normal vinyl record that we use nowadays. Say for example this Technics quartz turntable. Let's open that one up. And yeah, they are a lot finer. And of course, yeah, the stylus is a lot finer too. And well, of course, you can tell that this thing is made completely out of wood and metal, whereas for almost other devices, everything is made out of plastic. So far, as I believe, there's almost nothing on this thing that has been made out of plastic. Even the small handle here is also made out of wood. There is literally nothing really made out of plastic. The only thing that is sort of made out of plastic is the membrane for the stylus. So, you're probably asking yourself, does this thing actually work? And I can tell you, yes. It's been 100 years and this thing still works just fine. So, normally all your records player came with this. This is a small calibration unit. The way this thing works is we have these striped lines on here, and our light that we have at home, in Germany at least, we are using 50 Hertz. So the light switches on and off about 50 times. So that means that if the turntable, which runs at 78 RPM, is at the correct speed, those lines will stand still visibly for you when it's running. And well, I can give a short demonstration from that, but I'm not too sure how well the camera will pick that up, because well, the camera uses a completely different frame rate. And yeah, it's going to be a bit different. So, how do you wind this thing up? Because, well, this thing does not use electricity, which is something quite amazing about it. You can still annoy your neighbors when there's no power, or somebody switched the power off. You just stick the handle in, tighten the handle up, because, well, it's going to screw at the end. And then you start to wind up the turntable. But this may take a while. And you will slowly notice that it will get progressively harder because, well, the spring in there tightens up. Yeah, I might have to do a jump cut because otherwise I need to hold the gramophone down because it doesn't weigh a lot and there's a lot of tension building up in the handle, so be right back. Alright, the turntable is fully wound up. You will notice that because it gets very difficult to turn the handle. And it eventually will just stop. And if we want to use this calibration sheet now, You would just have to turn that on. And I mean, of course, on the camera those lines, actually they are, at least on my viewfinder. There's an optical illusion currently going on, so those lines are standing still. If it's running too fast, the lines seem to be moving, and if it's running too slow, those lines move in the other direction. But this one here is fairly well adjusted, and those lines are standing completely still. So yeah, having that at 78 RPM is properly calibrated. Yeah, and that small lever here is just to engage and disengage the brake. Very easy. Alright, so, well, now since this is a very old unit, we are definitely also using a very old system of stylus. There's a small box hidden in the gramophone here, and if we take that out, we will see that there are some needles. I still have a lot more, but I just have got a few in here, just so that I can always run this thing. So, we have very fine needles here, and depending on the sharpness or the thickness of the needle, that is how loud the turntable will actually play. Because, well, of course, depending on the thickness, the thinness, and the material that has been used, it will cause more or less vibrations in the membrane that is up here. And if you just tap that gently, you will hear tapping noises coming from the big speaker port. Which in its case is just a tube that goes all the way around through the unit out the back. So yeah, it's a very, very simple mechanism. So well, how do we put the stylus in, which in our case is just this small metal needle? Well, you just stick it in here. Make sure you do not pinch your finger, and then tighten down this screw. That's all we gotta do. And you might be wondering, how long does this stylus well now last? One side of the record. That is what is recommended by the manufacturers of those. There are some manufacturers that will say it will last a couple of more records, but really if you wanna make sure that all your records are going to last very long, swap those out every single time you are going to start and play something. Because if you're going to use a needle that isn't sharp anymore, yeah, you're going to destroy your record very easily. You will see that if the record has like these gray grooves in them, yeah, this one here does not have any, because this one is still in fairly mint condition. But yeah. So this one here has been treated fairly well. The owner always seems to have swapped out the needles at the proper time, or they were just using a diamond stylus, because, well, of course there were units from these that were motorized and they had a proper diamond stylus. Just like with these, which, well, they last a lot longer than just one record. That's it. Or, well, one side of record. So, well, let's place our record on here. Disengage the brake and sit the needle down. And well, as you can probably tell, the sound quality is definitely not the best. And the board seem to like the music. But yeah, that is pretty much it. It's a very simple system of playing back music, and yeah, this one is designed to be fully portable. I mean, sure, the real gramophone, you know, has this big ass tube on it, or the giant funnel. On this one, you don't need it. It's about the same volume as the one that has the giant funnel, but all just a very more compact and newer unit. Now, when it comes to gramophones, you really have to watch out when buying those. You have to make sure that the gramophone you are going to buy is a original one. There are only a few stores that really do actually sell these, otherwise you will just find stuff on eBay. But even then, if you're going to buy one of these, ask the seller if he can show you a picture of the motor. If this is a genuine unit, the label and all the other information will also be visible on the motor, because there are a lot of Indian gramophones, Indian, that are new. They work fine, but the problem is just that the steel used on the gears and everything is very soft and it will wear out very fast, so it will not last long. It will just last a couple of years, then the gears are used up and will break. Yeah. So I'm definitely going to show you the inside of that motor there. It's all very simple to disassemble actually, because to just take the platter off, we just have to remove this small metal pin. Disengage the brake, hold it still and see if I can lift that with one hand, which doesn't seem to be the case. 1 second. Here we are. Now, well, two things we already can have a look at is the speed mechanism. As you can see, it's just a lever that goes over to a pin. And this pin gets moved up and down, forwards and backwards. There seems to be a small adjustment with this plate up here, but I don't really have had to change anything so far or calibrate anything. And of course the brake mechanism, it's just a rubber stopper on a spring. You can loosen the brake, tightens up, you can engage the brake, and it will snap right on. Now, one thing that I highly recommend is if you're going to disassemble one of these, you have to be really careful, because there are a lot of sharp metal pieces in there, and these things do not have mercy on you, because there are a lot of very sharp parts in there, and especially the spring that's built into this unit. If you are going to disassemble the motor, I'd highly recommend do not do that by yourself. If you can find a person that has the qualifications for that, let him do that, because if you're going to open one of the pieces where the spring is inside, that thing will just jump out and explode right into your face, and it is very thin sheet metal, and that will give you some severe cuts. So highly recommend be very careful when disassembling a gramophone motor, because these things, they are evil. Alright, and as you can tell, I have taken out the motor section, and we can see the big metal tube going all the way around over there to the opening. So that is just pretty much everything that amplifies the volume. It's just like the big funnel on the turntables you normally see, but all just more in a smaller way of build. Now, let's get over to the more dangerous part. This is the gramophone motor. Now, I'd highly recommend, if you open one of these up, or get this far, make sure that there is no tension on the spring, and just let the thing run until it stands still by itself. Because otherwise, you will get some severe cuts and other things. So, let's have a more detailed look at this. Over here we have our speed adjustment, and as you can see we have a small piece of felt and a disc, and we have some weights on a spring. Now what happens if this thing starts spinning? You will see that because, well, of the circular movement, those weights want to move away. they pull on the spring and they pull this plate here forwards. That of course starts to rub against that felt. That's why you should always have a bit of oil on there, because otherwise the thing will start squeaking and that will not be a lot of fun. And yeah, depending on how far this felt is adjusted, you can adjust the speed of this thing. That's simple. Now down here we have our wind-up mechanism, and as you can see it's just 2 gears. Up that we have the capsule where the big spring is inside, and if you want to start to wind up the motor, this big spring will get a lot of tension, and as you can tell that is a massive spring. So really do never ever open this thing up. That spring in there will just explode into your face and it's gonna hurt you a lot. And as you can tell, the spring is currently running out of tension and the motor is starting to slow down. So that's pretty much it. Other than that, we just have 2 more gears for reduction up there. And that is the whole thing behind how the gramophone works. It's that simple. Just a spring, some gears, and a very simple mechanism to adjust the speed. And the rest, well, it's just completely mechanical. So I wouldn't say this is even analog, it's just mechanical stuff to create music and sound from a record. Yeah, very simple. Even though it's such an outdated technology, well, it was a very big thing back in the day. And this is the stamp that I was talking about earlier. There we go. On the back side of the motor we have a proper stamp. So yeah, this is how you know this is a genuine motor. It's literally that simple. On the rebuilt cheaper ones there is nothing on there, absolutely nothing. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching.